Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with a Cowgirl. I am Brett Kruger. I'm super excited to have Miss Hattie Wolfe here with me today with Wolfe Selects Performance Cow Horses. Hattie and I are live from the RSNC Finals in Fort Worth, Texas. We are currently sitting in the Watt Arena, I believe.
Yep.
This is where Hattie and Kason had their horse sale on Monday night. So a couple new things that we've never done before, but I think that Hattie and I can handle it. So we'll see how this goes. But a little bit about Hattie before I let her introduce herself. I've known Hattie and her husband Kason for a few years. They're really influential people in the ranch sorting industry, and among other things. And I have just always admired Hattie for her talent as a trick rider and her big heart. She's got a big heart and she's full of faith, and I think that her message is a pretty powerful one because a lot of things that she does is surrounded by God's word and his way. So I asked Hattie to be on here today with me because I just wanted her to talk a little bit about first of all, how she got involved in trick riding. I'm super interested myself to hear that, and talk about how her family has helped shape everything that she does in her previous life as a youth in the trick riding and today, because family is what heavily influences what Kason and Hattie do, and they're really good about making that work. So I will turn it over to you, Miss Hattie.
That's so sweet. It is true. You know, family is very important to me. I really don't know where that comes from, but I credit everything back to my Mima. I mean, she just taught me that.
Well, before we get into that, Hattie, introduce yourself.
Oh,
honey.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So, like Breck said, I'm Hattie Wolfe. My husband and I are pretty much involved full force into the ranch sorting industry. Kason, along with his family, helped run the RSNC Association, and it's been a blast to be able to do that. I don't come from a producing background, so to be involved with something like that is really cool. I grew up going along the rodeo circuit pretty much every weekend of my life. My mom calls the backseat of our truck a crib. So, like when I was a kid, she's like, "That was your crib." So we did a lot of miles, and just the amount of history and the rodeo lifestyle, like that was just amazing to be able to experience at a young age. So
where do you and Kason call home, Hattie?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are now in Weatherford, Texas. Kason is from Colorado, of course. So like you said, we're not home very often. So about 6 months out of the year we're in Colorado, and 6 months out of the year we're in Texas.
Are you from Texas originally?
Yes. Yep. Weatherford, Texas.
Okay. She's a Texas girl.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I hope everybody can hear us too. If anybody's having problems hearing us, let us know and we'll try to move closer. So Hattie, at what age did you start trick riding?
So my sisters were out trick riding, and my mom caught me behind the arena doing things I shouldn't be doing without asking. So I pretty much started at the age of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So Hattie and I were just talking earlier. We've had a pretty lengthy conversation about just what it looked like growing up and who helped her get there and how it all started. And I'd love for you to tell these folks a little bit about that, because that is super interesting. I mean, you guys didn't come from a trick riding background.
Right.
So tell the folks how that started, Hattie.
Of course. So my mom started the team, so to speak, the Cowgirl Chicks, and it was kind of revolved around like a drill team with my 3 older sisters. I'm the youngest of 4. So they had a lot of friends and things. My oldest sister is 12 years older than me. So they had friends and became, they wanted to be like the Texas Sweethearts. That was like one of those drill teams back then. So they kind of were doing that for fun. And it just evolved into becoming a specialty act. So my sisters and I ended up trick riding and Roman riding, and we did like a military opening, just kind of dedicating everything back to our country. And it just became like everybody's like key thing for a rodeo. So it was really amazing. Like we went every weekend and trick rode, and I mean in the mud and like in the rain in Cheyenne, like that song, it just gets me because it's true. Like rodeo doesn't quit, and so it doesn't matter if it's raining or sloppy mess, you still have to go. And it was pretty dangerous for us to be like trick riding in that. So we just God was with us the whole time.
You guys well, I've watched Hattie do the thing, I don't even know what you call it, where you lay down on, what is it called?
Okay, yeah.
When the horse is going really fast and you were down on the ground,
there's
hanging from it.
There's a few of them.
I would never do that. If somebody caught me doing that, they should probably call for help, because it's not on purpose, definitely.
Oh my gosh. Well, luckily we had the honor of being trained by JW Stokes, who was pretty much a legend in the trick riding industry. He was like a stunt double for Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, and he's up in his 90s now, and he's still living the dream of teaching people. But he's pretty much where we should give all the credit back to, because if it wasn't for him, we certainly wouldn't have known how to do those things properly and not an accident.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
When we were talking about you girls and the trick riding and what that all looked like, we got to talking about your grandma.
Yes.
Who is a huge part of your life.
Yes.
And has been. This is a happy conversation.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
So talk about like how family played such an important role in your youth, and then we'll talk about how family is playing such an important role now in your presence.
It is. Yeah, like God has certainly blessed me with nothing but family and fellowship, and that is something that's super important to me. Like just this time with you, the fellowship that it brings, the connection and the bond that it entails in the future is something that I cherish. So my Meemaw was absolutely like my best friend, and still is. She recently passed, so the tears are certainly happy because I miss her. But she had a very rough go with tongue and neck cancer, and through that I just look back at my life and see all the events that played out, that she was just certainly my messenger sent from heaven, and taught me so many things in life, and one was family. So we basically, like, anytime I had an issue or something, I was just like, I'm gonna pray, because that's one thing she would say before. If I went to her to ask a question, she's like, have you prayed about it? She's like, you need to talk to God first before you come talk to me. So, I'd go pray about it, and as soon as I would feel like my heart have an answer, I would talk to her about it. And it always came down to, you need to go see your sisters, you need to go see your parents, you need to reach out and be with your family no matter what. And so that evolved into me meeting Kason and eventually getting married, and their family is so much like mine, a very tight-knit family that does everything together.
They are very tight-knit, yes.
Yeah, so to be able to like have a family business, that can be difficult.
Very stressful.
Yeah.
You have to dye your hair frequently.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, my Meemaw, going back to her, she's just always been an intricate part of that, and always a heavenly messenger for me, and she still is today. I mean, it took me, it was a month ago when she passed, so a few weeks after, I was a little lost, because it's hard to, grasp that loss for your heart, and I've never really gone through a loss before.
So it was a tough one.
It was tough. It was. And especially somebody that, like, I literally would call her 10,000 times a day, text her, like, every morning we'd have a conversation. So I'm 23, and it was, I have great parents, but it was almost like losing a parent, and just a best friend.
So Hattie and I were talking a couple days ago, and Hattie was thanking me for having her on, and we were just chatting about that, and she's like, it's crazy because the morning that you asked me, I was sleeping. Kason and Hattie just got back from a big horse sale last week. You guys have kind of been on a big run.
Yeah.
So they were on their way home heading here, and I texted her and said, Hattie, do you want to join me for coffee with the Cowgirl? And she's like, Yes, oh my God. And then when I got here, she said she was dreaming.
It was totally, you know, like my Mima intricating things, but my goal, like when I was little, she'd always like, sky's the limit, you gotta have your goals, and one of them was, you know, what are you gonna do to make a difference? You know, kind of like this platform that you're doing here, like, you know, God gives us those
He uses abilities and we need to use them.
Absolutely. And it's up to us in order to put them into place. Yeah. So that was one of her things for me. And I always looked at, you know, Sadie Robertson, for instance. Like she's a young girl in my generation of, you know, technology and all the things that the world entails today. But she always seems to keep everything how Jesus entails. And so that was something that it caught my eye, you know, and I thought, I could do this in like the Western industry, and you know, one day I'm gonna do that. So when I was on the way back from Wyoming, I'm asleep dreaming, I guess. Kaysen was driving, and all of a sudden, like I woke up and we're about to stop at the gas station, and he's like, "Hey, you know what you need to do with your life?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And I mean, I'm like foggy, still asleep. He's like, "You need to become like a key speaker, and you need to dedicate everything back to your Mima and what she taught you, and you know, you remember that goal she gave you, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know, like we need to figure something out." And he just hands me my phone, and there's a message from you, and here we are today. So you know, that's something that I think my Mima sent me that message. Like I totally was dreaming about her, and then Kaysen said that, and here we are.
So funny. And here we are.
Yeah.
So Hattie and I were kind of just chatting earlier about things that have happened over the course of this week, and it's a long week, and a lot of people here, but it's super cool and super fun. But we're just talking about things that have happened that have been so cool. And last night, because God works in the greatest of ways, and Rodney Hammerstrom, he's from South Dakota, the nicest guy that you've ever met in your life, in a really bad wreck, was in a coma for
like 51 days or something.
Yes, a long time. Was never expected to walk or talk. He won a world championship last night, and oh, it was so cool.
Yes.
And Hattie and I were just like, it's just a sign, like God is so good if you let him.
Absolutely. And I think like we were talking also about how, like, especially a week like this, like you get competitive, you want to win, you want that world title, and as amazing as that is, like, you know, in my perspective, I always just make for sure, like, if that ever happened, like, I know who credit that to, because I wouldn't have done it without him for sure. But that's something that I really truly believe, like, you know, God gave Rodney that platform.
I do too.
And he even touched somebody when he came out of the pen and said, you know, God's got this. So those are the things that I have the chills.
I do
but
too.
It's just
it was
like,
such a great story.
Yeah. And those are the things that like people need to share, because like sometimes you lose hope. It's easy to lose hope. Like the enemy is out there, and it's from jealousy or insecurity, or you know, there's always something that the world is portraying that is not real. It's not what we should be focused on. And
absolutely. Hattie and I were talking this morning about just like how the generations have changed, and like, and it's gonna get worse, because, or I shouldn't say it's gonna get worse.
But I feel like it's gonna get better. It's just like the enemy's out there, and I think excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're fine, Hattie.
But I think it's just like the world needs people like us and these platforms. Like God's like, use those, you know.
Yes.
You know, spread my light, spread my word, and it will get better. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
And
he certainly shared that last night with Rodney winning, and it was awesome.
He absolutely did.
Yeah.
He absolutely did. So, Kaysen and Hattie just got back from, help me, Diamond McNabb. They got back from the Diamond McNabb horse sale last week, and God bless them, and they had high-selling gelding, or horse, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the first for us, so it was a true like dream come true experience in like the worldly case. But here I am, I go back all the time because I just can't not, you know, credit back to my Mima and Jesus, of course. But that whole story is incredible, and it's just I really would like to share that if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, so we went up to Wyoming. We had, we were on rock bottom when we got there because we literally
Everything
our
didn't happen.
axle broke. It was just one thing after another. Like, we were on the side of the road for about halfway up to Wyoming because that's just the way our life entails. Like, you're gonna be on the side of the road sometimes. And I feel like that's God, hey, yeah, in life, you're going to be on the side of the road, but who are you going to trust to carry you through? And so he certainly did that. We got to Douglas, and the people up there, I always share this with everybody that I can because they are what America is founded upon. I mean, the True family is absolutely phenomenal. The McNabb family is just like them. They have their Christian values and set, their genuine hearts, and they do what they love, and the honesty and integrity that sale upholds is very rare. There's not a lot of sales that have a 30-day guarantee and things like that. So to be invited to be a consignor is a huge honor. So Ksn and his brothers were invited to that sale about 7 years ago. So now that I'm a part of it and get
Your grandfather did.
Oh my gosh, exactly. But it's just like a family that, you feel like family like this. It's like you can pick out the Christian hearts, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You just feel this heavenly connection. And certainly is I think somebody said Satan probably really hates this place because it's just a beam of light. It's so radiant up there. And so we were there. You have no service,
which is awesome.
It's
as well.
amazing. Yes, it's amazing. So I feel like I'm off the earth for a little bit, and I got to thinking a lot about my Mima and how the other times that I've been there in the past, I probably won't be able to call her, when I get back to town. And it really got to me. And so I'm in this big valley with all these beautiful mountains, and it's just a heavenly view. And I'm really thinking about this, excuse me, and I just realized that, this is probably, I'm here for a reason. I know that. And I keep thinking about my grandma and how much she's taught me, and just kind of going through all the events that have carried on this last year of really, the tragedy that happened. And so we ended up having to show Magic, which he ended up being our high seller, and he was my Meemaw's favorite horse. So I really didn't want him to sell because I just wanted to hold on to him. It was kind of she loved him and I wanted to love him too, kind of thing. And this lady comes up, and Ksn has to run and go to a meeting, and I'm like, oh no.
Please come back.
Please come back. So he's like, show this horse. Well, I'm really not the showman. And Ksn, I find happiness watching him show horses. And but God put me in this place, so I'm like, well, I guess I have to show this horse.
Did you ultimately sell the horse?
We did.
No, you ultimately
right?
did.
Yeah, yeah. So this sweet lady named Beverly comes up, and we just kind of hit it off. And I'm like, gosh dang it, Magic is perfect for her, but I don't want to show him very good because I don't want him to sell. And so I'm kind of the brat in me or something is just no, go away and don't come back kind of thing. And so I show him, and everything's great, and she's loving him. She gets to ride him a little bit. Well, he's all haired up. And as you know, being, having horses that go in sales, that's number one no. So I was super embarrassed, and I felt like I needed to give an excuse for myself, which I hate doing, but I just felt maybe, talking about my Meemaw is very healing for me. So I was this needs to happen. So I'm talking to this stranger about my Meemaw in the middle of Douglas, Wyoming. And she's just bawling, and I'm bawling, and we really connected upon my grandmother, and so that was really special to me. And I go in to tell her the story about how he grew hair, and it was when my Meemaw was the last 2 weeks of her life, and I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Ksn had his hands full and had to turn him out, and unfortunately he grew his hair back. But
it happens.
It happens. It does. I was totally embarrassed, but at the same time, it's just something that I could never I could never regret.
Yeah.
You know, I needed to be with her. So this lady is just the sweetest thing ever, and disregards the hair, and you know, doesn't mind it, and knows that he'll shed it out one day, and all this stuff. And from that point forward, I have to show him to like 100 other people. You know, there's just people flooding that place, and we have to keep on showing them. They all want to know who Magic is, and I'm like, oh, you know, kind of crying the whole day. And I'm praying for that lady. I'm like, please buy this horse, because it just felt like, you know, there was this connection, and my whole goal for him was to have a good home. Like, I didn't care about anything else. And so when it was all said and done, and I look over, she had no idea her husband had bought this horse.
Oh my gosh!
Had no idea. So I like run over to her, and she is just bawling and cannot believe it. And she was so deserving. Like, her husband told me, he said, I bought her this horse because she's worked her whole life so hard for me, and she deserves this. I mean, a 7-year-old gelding, and he went for $80,000. And
but he just wasn't any gelding.
Yeah.
Magic was so awesome that he got to carry the amazing Governor Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
At what rodeo?
The NFR.
At the NFR.
Yeah.
And she carried the flag on him, right?
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Kudos. And that was that to your connection?
Yes, I was actually invited to be a flag girl at the NFR this last year.
Yes, so she's a flag girl at the NFR too.
Yeah.
So totally cool.
Yeah, it was amazing, because Governor Noem is like, she's pretty awesome.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty jealous of South Dakota for having her as a governor.
She's pretty cool. And I actually, going back to the NFR, like, I couldn't find Kaysen for an hour, and he was back there talking with her. So he thinks that they're like on first name basis now. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, Magic was a very like one of a kind horse, and
So cool.
I will never find another one like him. But the number 8 is so significant to Kaysen and I. Like, I know why. So we were married on 8/18/18. So for some reason that 8 just like pops up with us. And after we decided on that date, my Meemaw said, you know that the biblical meaning of 8 is new beginnings and prosperity. And so when that number popped up again this last Sunday, I was like, really? You know, I just felt like my Meemaw was sending me that message of, you know, new beginnings and prosperity. There's been a lot of sacrificing for Kaysen and I the last few years, which, you know, it happens, you know, like, we're young, we're married, and it's just a lot adulting and entrepreneurship entails.
I was just going to say that, Hattie, that
Yeah.
I don't think that the sacrifice in our lifestyle stops, because it's, if you are an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you're in the horse industry or whatever you are, you've got a drive to be better, and you have a drive to do new things.
Yeah.
And with that drive comes sacrifice.
Yeah,
and
it does.
Good for you.
Yeah, and like, you know, as a Christian, that's just kind of our duty, is to be sacrificial, you know, in His name for sure. Yeah.
And I think that too, like, do you even look at it as a sacrifice anymore?
Right. No,
because,
not at all. Yeah. It's a way of life.
It's
know?
hard. It is a very hard way of life, but you don't, I don't know, you just do it, and you, like, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. As you know, it's 100. It's like something like 100 and what here?
I think my car said 106 yesterday.
106 degrees yesterday,
Yeah.
and as I was busting hay bales out of the
Right?
trailer,
Yeah. You're
love
over
this life. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you truly have to love it. And my mom always used to say, you know, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, she's
And
right.
it's so true. Yeah,
So true.
it is.
Well, Hattie, is there anything else that you would like to say?
You know, I think my message for today is just like trust in the Lord and find your corner, if that makes sense. You know, like with you here today, like you're providing such a platform for us women and men to gather, connect with, and have fellowship, even if it is, you know, virtually. But it's so healing, and it doesn't matter what you're going through. You always need fellowship and people that love
Good
you
people.
and support you. Yeah.
Yes, surround
Yeah.
yourself with good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always ask, because our hashtag is be the cowgirl that you want to be,
Absolutely.
because I feel like that was me. I wasn't being the cowgirl that I wanted to be for a long time, and then I stepped into it and was like, I'm going to be this person. This is the one I want to be. So
Yeah.
what does that mean for you, Hattie?
I think within our industry today, that would mean to me to be honest and true to yourself and to the people that you're around, the people that you're selling to, and in our case, the people that look up to you, you know, not necessarily like a Christian platform. That's kind of the way that I have to put it, instead of saying, you know, like we're on this platform or something. But I think it would just be honest and true to yourself. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it, Hattie.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think, is there anything else you think that we should touch on?
I don't think so. I'm just so honored that you
Yeah,
called upon me to do this, and you have an amazing thing going here, and I just can't wait to watch it evolve. And
Me too.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're so happy that you guys took the time to join us this morning. This was fun for us, or fun for me. Because
absolutely, yes.
It's fun to be somewhere different than my office and try something new. So
Yeah.
I hope that everybody has a great week. I hope everybody's staying cool and having a fun summer. Tune in next week. We'll be live from Reno, Nevada. I'm not sure who we'll be chatting with yet, but I'm sure it'll be somebody pretty cool. So thank you guys, and have a great week.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.